Hello, my little mathematicians. Today, if you could please follow along on E25, which is page 22 in your packet. Again, that's E25 or page 22 in your packet. The very first thing we're going to do is we are going to use this dot plot right here to answer some questions. This specific dot plot is representing the writing scores for a group of students on their organization. And the very first question it asks is, how many students are represented in the data? So go ahead and count how many people answered, which is each person that answered is represented with usually a dot or an X in this instance. They should have used a dot because it's called a dot plot, but whatever, they used X's. And sometimes I like to use X's too because it's just easier to make them more uniform shaped. Okay, so count your X's. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19 people answered this survey. And how did I find that out? I counted the number of X's. Okay, the next question it asks is, what are the mean and median of the data set? What do these values mean and how do they compare? Well, to find the mean, we want to find the average. So I take all the numbers in the data set and add them together. So you have 0, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 4, 4, 4, 4, 5, 5, 5, a 6, and another 6. And how many times did that happen? There was 19 of them. Okay, that's one way you could add them all up individually, or you could say, okay, there's 0 plus 1 plus 2 times 2 plus 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times 3, 1, 2, 3, 4 times 4, 1, 2, 3 times 5, and 2 times 6. And that way sometimes it's easier if you want to do it that way. But just remember, you're still always dividing by how many there were, 19. So go ahead and add all the top, regardless of how you did it. You should have gotten 66. And then you divide that by 19, and 66 divided by 19 is 3.5. What is that representing? That's the mean or the average score. If they wanted you to find the median, you would put them all in order from least to greatest, which is nice if they give you a dot plot because they're already listed that way. And we can just use the dot plot to cross off from the beginning and end. So let's cross off the 0 and the 6. And then the next one from beginning is 1. 1 from the end is 6. Okay, and then beginning, end, beginning, end, beginning, end, beginning, end, beginning, end, beginning, end, from the beginning, from the end, and finally to get my middle value of 3. And that's what the median is. It's the middle value. Now, how do these compare? Well, what's the difference between 3.5 and 3? A half, or 0.5. And which one's bigger? The mean is. So I would say the mean is greater by 1/2 or 0.5. That's how they compare. What is the range of the data set? Well, to find the range, you want to find the biggest value, which is 6, minus the smallest value, which is 0. So 6 minus 0 is 6. What does that mean? Well, it's the biggest number minus the smallest number, or the difference between them, which really what it's saying is what's the variation of the data set? By how much does it vary? If the range value is really big, then that means your data set is really spread out from each other. If your range is kind of small, then your data is grouped pretty close together and everyone scored pretty similar. Okay, that's what a range is. It's a way to describe the variation of a data set. If they ask you to describe the graph, in fact, I want you guys to pause the video and try to come up with some descriptions yourself and then unpause it to check. Okay, hopefully you are back with us now. You paused it and then you press play again. Some of the things that you could describe, if it was symmetrical, that would be like, here's your peak, and then there'd be an even amount on either side. So like here's 4 high, so this would be 4 high. And then this is 3 high, so this would be 3 high. And then this is 2 high, so this would be 2 high. It would be very symmetrical, evenly distributed on either side from your center peak. Obviously, that's not the case. So we could say it's skewed. And how skewed is it? It's right here towards the 0 and 1, which is towards the left. If you didn't say it was skewed for this particular one, I'd be okay with that because they're only like one apart from each other, and these only happen twice, so they're kind of close together. But everything else happened 2 or more times versus these only happened once. So I'm fine if you say skewed left or if you didn't mention that it was skewed for this particular graph. But it is definitely having a peak at 3. So that's something you want to mention. You could have said that the outliers are at 0 and 1 because, again, everything else happened 2 or more times versus these only happened once. An outlier could also be if one number is way far smaller or way bigger than all the other data values. Where are they clustered between? If you said from 2 to 6 or 3 to 6, that's like where the vast majority of the data is grouped together. And then finally, like to make sense of this, because it has a peak here, what does that mean? That means most students scored a 3 out of 6 than anything else. Okay, so use words like symmetrical or skewed, where the peaks are, if there's outliers, if their groups are clustered together anywhere, and then try to make sense of the data set if they ever ask you to describe the graph. Those are the type of vocab words that you would use. So there's with dot plots. Let's focus on reviewing histograms. Question number 2 says, grade 6 students were collecting data for a math class project. They decided they would survey the other 2 grade 6 classes to determine how many DVDs each student owns. A total of 48 students were surveyed. The data are shown in the table below in no specific order. Create a histogram. What are some observations that can be made from the data display? Okay, so from this table right here, I'm going to use this frequency table. So the ranges are from 0 to 9, 10 to 19, 20 to 29, and 30 to 39. So each individual data value, I'm going to see where it falls in the frequency table and draw a tally mark. So for 11, it falls within the 10 to 19 range. And as you go, please cross the numbers off so you don't lose track. And we're going to put 1 tally mark in the 10 to 19. 21, cross off, and that's in the 20 to 29 range. 5 is in the 0 to 9. 12 is in the 10 to 19. So I drew another tally mark in the 10 to 19 one. 10 also happened in the 10 to 19. 31 is in the 30 to 39 range. 19 is in the 10 to 19. 13 is also in the 10 to 19. Notice that it's the 5th one in this range right here. So I drew a diagonal line. Every time you get to a 5th number, instead of just continuing on with your individual tallies, draw a diagonal slash, please. And you'll see why when we count them all up at the end. That's so important. Okay, 23, it goes in the 20 to 29. 33 is in the 30 to 39. 10 is in the 10 to 19. 11 is also in the 10 to 19. 25 is in the 20 to 29. Again, you can keep doing, press pause, continue this on yourself, and then just fast forward and check at the end to see if you got it right. 14 is in the 10 to 19. 34 is in the 30 to 39. 15 is in the 10 to 19. 14 is also in the 10 to 19. Notice that I got to the 5th one again, so I drew another diagonal slash. Okay, 29 is in the 20 to 29. 8 is in the 0 to 9. 5 is also in the 0 to 9. 22 is in the 20 to 29. 26 is also in the 20 to 29. 23 is in there as well. 12 is in the 10 to 19. 27 is also in the 20 to 29. 4 is in the 0 to 9. 25 is in the 20 to 29. 15 is in the 10 to 19. 7 is in the 0 to 9. 2 is also in the 0 to 9. 19 is in the 10 to 19. 12 is in the 10 to 19. 39 is in the 30 to 39. 17 is in the 10 to 19. 16 is also in the 10 to 19, as well as 15. 28 is in the 20 to 29. And 16, finally, is in the 10 to 19. Okay, to find the frequency, you count the tally marks. And this is why it's so helpful to have these slash marks. We know that that's a set of 5 plus 1 more is 6. So the range of 0 to 9 happens 6 times. The 10 to 19 was 5, 10, 15, plus 3 is 18. And then 20 to 29 is 5, 10, and 30 to 39 is 4. So I'm going to use that frequency table to help me create my histogram. So I'm going to label it. The bottom is the number of DVDs, and then the side is always the frequency, how many times it happened. My ranges are 0 to 9, 10 to 19, 20 to 29, and 30 to 39. My ranges went all the way from 4 to 18. So if I counted by ones, I wouldn't make it. So I'm probably going to count by twos, and it works out perfectly. So 0 to 9 happened 6 times. So for this column, go all the way up to the 6. Shade that in. For the 10 to 19, shade all the way up to the 18. For the 20 to 29, shade all the way up to the 10 line. And for the 30 to 39, shade all the way up to the 4 line. Something that is important to note. When you're choosing to count by something along the sides, you have to remain consistent. So I can't start counting by twos and then start counting by ones and then start counting by fives. You always have to stay consistent. Whatever you start counting by is what you have to continue the whole way up, because otherwise your data won't be displayed accurately. You can't glance at it and see how spread apart it is from each other. And then you're like, well, what if, like, let's say the 30 to 39 happened 5 times? There's no 5 here. Well, it would just go halfway between the 4 and 6 line. I would shade right here, halfway up. Okay, that's how you would account for it. You don't put those numbers over there. You always count by the same interval. All right, hopefully your histogram looked just like this. And now you have, again, reviewed and mastered how to both create and read a dot plot and a histogram. Congratulations, my little mathematicians.